Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined in the studio today by Craig Burley and Ali Morena. We'll kick things off in Germany. Bayern taking on Manchester United in the opening round of Champions League matches. So Bayern Munich win their opening round in the Champions League. For Manchester United, they're still struggling to find answers to so many questions as we welcome in Mario Malchiot. Joins us. We'll hear from Mario in a moment. But Craig, I want to start with you. It's kind of almost the most un-4-3 game that you'll see.
Well, if you've just sort of walked in and saw the result and thought, well, that was a blockbuster game, it wasn't. It wasn't. And for long periods, it wasn't a game whatsoever. I would call this a sparing the blushes sort of result and scoreline for Ten Hag, because I'll give them the first 15 minutes, or maybe even up to the bad mistake from Onana, where Man United actually were OK, and Bayern Munich were not OK, they were poor. After that, and after the goal went in, the mistake, they folded like a pack of cards. They just lost their shape, and Bayern took over. And as the second half wore on, I kept saying to you, apart from the Højlund goal, have they been up the field yet? Man United had not been up the field. It was constant attack after attack after attack. And only because Bayern Munich themselves, at this moment in time, are not a well-oiled side, they're not a great side, was this game not 4 or 5, dead and buried. And that allowed those little mistakes to creep in, where you felt that Bayern had switched off a little bit. And that just kept United hovering around. But in terms of a performance, it was the same old problem. You could drive a bus through this Manchester United midfield. We saw that second goal there where Casemiro tries to get tight to Musiala. He spins him and goes in behind. Casemiro doesn't have the legs to keep up. Now, in all fairness, Musiala can do that to a lot of players. He does it in the Bundesliga a lot. He's a terrific talent. But we're seeing this at the moment with Man United, and particularly with Casemiro, a lot. And I can hear people, he got 2 goals. That's not important. Man United's biggest problem at the moment is similar to Liverpool last year. We talked at length with Stevie and all the guys last year about Liverpool's defence, and there was a big argument to say the midfield were giving the defence no protection. This is a very similar scenario.
During the summer rally, we were, of course, covered a lot of those pre-season matches between big teams. The second half had that same sort of vibe, didn't it?
Well, that there was one big team, and it's not Manchester United. It's Bayern Munich. And I think while it finishes 4-3, I got the sense that this game was closer to being 5-1 than it was 4-3. And let's not forget that Bayern Munich hits a post twice. And to that point of Jamal Musiala running with the ball, it's not just in the second goal for Serge Gnabry. It's when he runs through the middle of the park in the second half and finds Leroy Sané behind, hits the post again. I got the sense, as I'm watching the game, if Bayern Munich wants to push this, they can score as many goals as they want. But because Bayern Munich themselves have some issues defensively, at times they get stretched, at times they get disorganized, because their midfield is not settled, because their transition is not settled, because Goretzka and Kimmich, while they can control the ball offensively, defensively, they have their own issues, and that's why they can get exposed. They got exposed last weekend against Leverkusen. They got exposed sometimes today against Manchester United. But on the totality, I think there's a difference here between a team that can truly contend for this title and a team that the best they can hope for is get out of the group and somehow get a good draw and maybe somehow advance in the knockout stage. But that's not even in the cards right now for Manchester United. Again, this game, in my mind, was closer to being 5-1 than it was 4-3. Certainly, the difference between these two teams is not just one goal.
But Mario, what about the character Manchester United showed late on to keep fighting?
I mean, look, the guys already highlighted it, you know, because you can have the character, but it also, sometimes people have to say, you set up a certain tactic, how to play the game, but then later on when it doesn't work, and then you got to change things, it becomes very, very difficult. And also, like what we highlighted, look, if you are playing a team like Bayern Munich away from home, I don't think you should spread out that open, because they were too wide open. And like the guys already highlighted, Eriksen and Casemiro in the middle of the park. On the ball, great. But then you also got to play a defensive game. And if you don't give too many spaces away, you get more chance. But they didn't do that. So that's why guys like they already highlighted, Gnabry, Sané, how he got over the top. Musiala when he picks up the ball. Those are guys, you're making them actually stronger and better when you give them too much space. So I think that was the thing. But okay, at the end you get the goals that you don't also because of the way the scoreline was. I didn't expect them to score, but the way they got a couple of goals back. But we have to be honest. This game, Man United will look back and think like, wow, what just happened to us? Because it was like, honestly, it was incredible how they looked, and they knew that Tuchel prepped his team regardless if he was there or not, because the other guys took over. But still, you could see they were well prepped by Munich.
We've seen this from
what these guys are talking about is really, really clear. What Craig and all the people at ESPN are talking about. It's really, really clear. That's exactly what we saw from today. We watched the game of Bayern Munich and Manchester United, where both teams were very, very poor in terms of how they were playing the game, how they were trying to be in the game. They were definitely poor, but the other team was way better. It just shows that the other team is still trying to work on the rough patches they are not yet flowing, while the other team, you are actually wondering if they are going to give us anything to talk about when it comes to football, because Manchester United, they just don't look like anything like a team that anyone can hope for something in this team. Because when you think about it, their midfield, it's, I think, like, there's something that was said here with Craig. He said that what he's seeing in the Manchester United midfield really reminds him of what we were seeing at Liverpool last season. Now, matters might not have gone according to plans, but Liverpool had to replace the whole entire midfielders. They had to replace the whole entire team in terms of the midfielders. The purpose of that was to try by all means to have a team that can play football. Now you can see that there are some changes. With this Manchester United squad, they are in trouble because Christian Eriksen, let's face it, people, this guy is getting old. While as well, but this is the difference. I want you to understand this. Christian Eriksen, the guy is getting old. Casemiro no longer have legs. Even though he's getting old, but the legs are no longer there. He can still do the job, but he needs somebody. He cannot cover the whole entire pitch. The legs won't let him do so. So that's where the problem of Manchester United is. They're trying to, by all means, to use Bruno as a creator only. And as a creator, it means that he has to be up forward and try to use Christian Eriksen and Casemiro to try and create something. Because I thought Scott McTominay was going to really be pumped for this opportunity and do something, but as things stands, Eriksen is even willing to trust or to try and Christian Eriksen, because when he has the ball, he is a weapon you can use, but without the ball, oh my God, that is where the problem is. Oh, Craig made a crazy point, or a funny point when he was talking about you can drive a bus in that midfield of Manchester United and they won't even do anything to stop it. That just tells you of how much these guys are so exposed. Ali talked about something that was interesting as well. He said that this game might have ended the way it has ended, but it looked more like a 5-1 game rather than to a 4-3 game. The reason why this game ended up ending 4-3 is because after scoring 3 goals, Bayern Munich really went off to sleep. They thought the game was done and everything was like. That's when Manchester United starting to do this thing and try to find ways. We've seen it in other games. You remember the game that Liverpool beat Manchester City by 4-3, if I remember so well. The whole entire game was played when Liverpool beat the team around the 3-4-0. Then they went to sleep and Manchester United City tried to come back in the game. It was too late already, but they tried to come back. That's exactly what happened with Bayern Munich here. They could have carried this game, they could have killed it, they could have done everything, but it seems like they just pulled back, and you know, by pulling back, the other team try to come back, but there's a problem. But in here, we saw a team that if they are able to work on some rough patches, they can improve and actually become a threat. I'm talking of Bayern. Then when it comes to Manchester City, we are just hoping. We are just hoping that it may be a miracle could happen somewhere, somehow. I don't know. Still so much to talk. Let's continue with the video.
In the midfield throughout the season, why doesn't he do something about it, or does he just not have the personnel?
Well, it's his personnel. Eriksen, they signed when he was there, I believe. Free transfer, good player, but getting older now and certainly not a defensive midfielder. somebody's going to have to get Amrabat a Superman's cape, aren't they, when he comes back from his injury? And Casemiro, and I'm not pinpointing him out, but it's been something we've looked at all year, and even talked about before the season started, was he's going to need somebody around him that can help cover, because he's getting exposed now. He's at that stage of his career where the legs are maybe half a yard from getting to the ball where he used to, and he's getting a bit exposed, and he needs, as a former midfielder, you need somebody in there with you, and he hasn't got that, and injury to Mason Mount, he's not the guy either. He's not the guy either. So the midfield at the moment is not listen, it's far from the only problem they have, that's for sure. But I think the defence is creaking at the seams, because we go back to match day one, Wolves. Through the middle. If Cunha could have scored, if Cunha was a finisher, that game would have been done. And we're seeing it a lot with this United side, that the work rate from the front wide guys isn't the best and hasn't been the best. The midfield's getting exposed, and that is really leaving the back four, whoever that may be, under a lot of pressure. I feel at the moment United performances are saving blushes. Not at the weekend. This one has saved it, as Ali said, being a 5 or 6. Because it easily, if you watch this game again, it easily and probably could have and should have been 5 or 6 for Bayern.
I think the concerning part through the midfield and through the back line of Manchester United, but certainly through the midfield area, is that they're not even close enough to actually foul people. They're not even getting close enough to impact the play, to force the play to go backwards. So maybe you slow down a transition moment. They're not even getting close to be doing that, because at least if you get numbers behind the ball, you can force things out wide, you can force things back, you can at least get in passing lanes. But they're neither here nor there. They're not close enough to foul people. They're not close enough to impact the play offensively for the other team. And then they're not dropping off to the point to where now they can defend passing gaps. They're neither here nor there, and being neither nor there, what ends up happening is guys like Jamal Musiala will expose you. They will turn you in space, and they will run at you and run away from you. Now, we have talked about Casemiro and covered Casemiro extensively over the years with Real Madrid. And one of the very impressive things about Casemiro is that while he does have a foul in his game, somehow he was able to skirt away from red cards and yellow cards, and sort of the opposite as to what we have seen from Sergio Ramos in the past. Well, Casemiro's not even getting close so that he can get a yellow card or a red card or a foul or anything. Can't get there. And in not getting there, everything becomes wide open for whoever is able to turn. And in this case was Jamal Musiala, who must have said, look at the space. He's turning. There was a play in which he actually turned, looked up, nobody close to him, and said, well, fine, I'll just take the 40 yards in front of me. It's too easy for a guy like Musiala, but it's too easy for anybody right now that plays through the midfield against Manchester United.
Things becomes more interesting. Like what we are talking about, the question which was being asked there was, does Erik ten Hag has the personnel which he can use to get the better of this Manchester United? But this is the problem. All the people that are at Manchester United in the midfield at the moment, when you look at them, are mostly his people. The only person who's not an Erik ten Hag player there, it's only Bruno Fernandes. Mason Mount, he signed, who doesn't even look like he is the it that they need. Casemiro, he's the one who signed him. Christian Eriksen, he's the one who signed him. So all the people that are playing for Manchester United right now, if you look at this, the personnel are all Erik ten Hag. He signed these guys looking at their attributes and saying that these are the players he can get the better of Manchester United with. It's his people that he trusts that can give him the best. So the question is this: why do we always run to focus on the Glazers when you find that the problem is actually being created by the people that Erik ten Hag has actually bought himself? So these are his guys. So it becomes very, very interesting when we hear people pointing fingers at the Glazers, pointing fingers at anything. All the people that are failing to play football in the middle of the park are all Erik ten Hag's people. Look at this Manchester United now team. Onana, Erik ten Hag. Lisandro Martinez, Erik ten Hag. The other kid who's no longer playing, who's injured, but I won't talk about the ones who are injured. I'm just going to talk about yesterday's team. Let's say Varane and Dalot, they were already from the academy, of course. Then we look at the midfield: Christian Eriksen, Casemiro, Eric Ten Hag's people. Then we go up forward, Højlund, Eric Ten Hag's person. Then Rashford, of course, he was already there. So there is already so much influence on that Eric Ten Hag has done to this team that it's really weird that we cannot only see that even the manager with what he's bringing, it's working or what. Because what he's bringing, it's leaving so many gaps that he's not even feeling. So that's where the problem is. So the other thing that was said by Ale, which I really respect, he said that one thing that we've come to know about Casemiro, I know he can be a crazy boy in his brain. He can be somebody who can be dangerous, and sometimes when it comes to playing football, he can hurt people. But at this moment, he's even struggling himself to get close enough to cause any problems to those people. It's even hard for him to get close enough to cause havoc to those people. So this Manchester United are shamble. Of course, the worst part of this shambleness is the midfield, which now everyone's hopes and the adoration are all now looking at Sophia Amrabat. But remember, there's just a man. He's just one man alone. That is just too much for any person to carry. But I'm not saying that he's going to come and fail United. Let's just wait and see how it goes. But there is so much there that so many people, so many things has to be addressed. Anyway, let's continue.
Better than most, Mario. He's lost 4 out of 6 now. Does he have the capability to turn this around, or is he out of his depth?
No, I don't think he's out of his depth, because I think, look, we have to highlight the injuries that he has. Okay, we can highlight that. But I also want to say that he has to also understand, I think that's one of the key things, is that the way where you come from, right? Our culture is very much set like, we control the game. And I think what's happening now to Den Haag is that he's facing teams that they are controlling the game. If you looked at the weekend when he played against Brighton, he could not control the game. There was a team that we can talk about Brighton that just, coming up and impressing people. No, but they look very comfortable on the ball. As a team, the way they set up, every individual in the team knows what to do. Then they're going to play against a giant team of like Bayern, and you are not there yet, but you want to play like you are there. That is the only thing I will say to him, is that he needs to go back and understand that my team is not where I want them to be. So I cannot play the football that I'm used to playing, because that is our Dutch culture of like, the Ajax system is like, we have the ball, we control, and you do what we tell you to do. But it does not work like that, because Man United's background is like that, but not a Man United that looks like this, because they don't have the individual to do it, because they counter on, what is it? Maybe if you look at, they give the ball to a Rashford, you understand, to break things open for them. But do you think the opponents don't know? The opponents are not going to prep for that. Everybody preps on your outlet. So you got to come up with something. So what I say, away from home, let them first start focusing on tidying the game up. And don't get your players like how the boys have already highlighted, a Casemiro or an Eriksen. Eriksen, when you look at Spurs, that was his greatest time, and also at Ajax, of course. But he always had, for example, Dembele behind him. He didn't have to do this back. Now he plays at Man United. You know how much he has to run back? That's not his game.
But I mean, if you're coming from that culture at Ajax, where you're not always, but you're a dominant side, why are you not able to try and be dominant, even with this group of players? Because I'm not seeing this season any sort of pattern to what they're trying to do. Let's take the Brighton game, where, as Mario said, Brighton dominated the possession. But why are United allowing them to dominate possession when they have international footballers in their team? I mean, do you think when Brighton play Man City, I mean, it might be a great game, Brighton might beat them, who knows? But City will not allow Brighton just to dominate the game.
Right.
So there's no pressing.
But do they have the personnel? That's the thing I say.
So I ask you a question. Do they have bigger hitters than Brighton and Hove Albion? I think the answer is yes.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is when you ask that question, then you've got to ask the second question, why was it so easy for Brighton to do what they do best? And why can United, with their players against a club of Brighton's size, not at least attempt to control the game? There's no pattern in what they're trying to do at the moment. There's no real pressing game. There's no real... When you watch them, you go, my God, look at them pressing in the box and they're trying to stop. And OK, you get played around. Sometimes good teams will play around you. But they're not pressing, and they're neither dropping off and sitting in and being deep and getting everybody behind the ball. It's half-hearted that and half-hearted this.
Yeah.
And so they leave everybody somewhere in the middle. And quite frankly, a lot of it, I give it injury suspension, a lot of it comes down to him. I really don't see what he's trying to do with this current crop of players that he's got available at the moment.
And of course,
Can Erik ten Hag turn this around? According to Mario, he feels like Erik ten Hag is just getting ahead of himself. He's thinking that he has the players, he feels like he's still at Ajax. Of course, I've never watched his games at Ajax, maybe the time when they were beaten by Tottenham Hotspurs, but I don't even know if he was even the manager by then. But what we know, at Ajax, his team was dominating the ball. This is not what this Manchester United is doing. That also comes back to who the players is bringing himself. What is he doing with those players to make them that they can make sure that he dominate the game? Because that part, it seems like we're still missing to see the direction of that. Manchester United are not the United we are used to. Like what Craig is talking about, taking us back to the Brighton game. That look at how Brighton were playing and look at how United, with so many international players, allowed Brighton to dominate the game. Because Man City will not allow Brighton to have that chance to do so because they know they're a bigger team. Now, as things stands, Liverpool will not allow them to do so. So the question is this: can we really take this thing that we're being told and really take it seriously and believe that this is where the problem is? Because I cannot see it at all. Direction of what he's trying to play, I have no idea. Everyone knows how to prepare for Manchester United at the moment because it seems like every attack that they do has to pass through Marcus Rashford. We know from long history coming back then that it's hard for any team to succeed at any level if they only have one direction of attacking, that they know that whether they do what the ball has to come from one direction, people will know how to set trap for him, they will know how to set up for him and do whatever they can. Even though the team is not good, they will know how to set up for him. Now, what is Erik ten Hag doing? So, like what Craig is saying, the person blame here, as much as people don't want to hear it, as much as people are playing this thing, feeling like we're coming after United, it's Erik ten Hag. He's the one who said this team, he's the one who bought these players, and he's the one who's failing to even produce anything with this team. So he is to blame. Let's get that so clear. It's very important that people do. Let's continue with the video.
was added to his problems, Ali. Onana.
Yes. Right. So he's supposed to come on the field and be the guy that, with his feet, is going to distribute play, and you need it as part of Ten Hag's plans. Well, what about stopping the ball?
Right.
Because, see, that's priority number one for a goalkeeper. See, I don't care what era of the game we're in now. I don't care how romantic we are with the possession of the ball and how much we need to have goalkeepers be a part of you building out of the back. Priority number one for a goalkeeper is to stopping the ball from going into the back of the net. And I must say, up until that moment, Manchester United have been, at the very least, willing to play against Bayern Munich.
Been competitive.
They have been competitive. It had been a positive start, something to build on. And I'll take it a step further. We just mentioned sort of their issues, their tactical issues on the field. The mental part of the game right now for Manchester United is all over the place too, because Onana makes that mistake. And the reaction by the team was no reaction. Mm-hmm. It was mental frailties, fragility. A team that...
Here we go again. Almost.
Yes, we have seen this happen before. We don't know what to do now. And so here you go, Bayern Munich. You take over the game. We have no chance. We're a small team. You're a big team. That's the sort of mentality that you see in the reaction or lack thereof from Manchester United. But it all stems from the mistake from Onana, who... It's a basic save. That's all I can tell you. It's a warm-up save. And it's one that now opens up the door for Manchester United to collapse, and collapse they did for long periods of time until late in the match there was a little bit of a comeback. But for the middle 60 minutes of that game, there was only one team, and it was Bayern Munich, and it all had to do after the mistake of Onana and the lack of personality of this group. So beyond the tactical issues, there's a mentality issue here for Manchester United. You put those things together, and this team is in trouble.
Bet Harry Maguire wished he was hovering around when he made that mistake after the
so
the scenario here in America
every season, wasn't it?
when Maguire, whatever he did, and Onana came out and gave him both barrels. So if he's going to play with the big boys' rules and he's going to be this super confident, cocky goalkeeper, which he is, he's going to have to do the basics properly because it's one of the things that in the end, David De Gea was making mistakes towards the end of last season in particular. And we know he wasn't great with his feet or as good with his feet as Ten Hag wanted. So Onana is going to have to step up. But it goes back to one of the conversations we had 2 or 3 days ago about leadership after the alleged fracas in the dressing room and who would show leadership. As Ali said, United were actually doing okay up until that mistake. But the turnaround and performance and any sort of working hard and shape, and they just looked as if that goal, just everybody just put their head down and went, let's just get this game over, get back on the flight and get home. That was really worrying.
Onana, of course, you'd seen a lot at Ajax. Mario, are you surprised that he struggled so much?
No, look, like the guys highlighted, I think when you come in the goal of Man United, it's always been a difficult moment. Why? Because, Schmeichel, you had everybody, try to implement him. I remember playing with a guy like Mark Bosnich. He came to Chelsea. Oh, it was so difficult for him to take the job at that time. Came to Chelsea, wasn't easy too. But then, Edwin van der Sar came, and, then things calmed down. Then, they tried goalkeepers. Now Onana is in. Okay, the guy has one thing that what Greg already said. He saved. His hands were incredibly well. And I think that sometimes he had an answer, right? When things go bad with him, when he will make a mistake, he will come out and play a game and we go like, wow, what a save that was. So Onana is going to go through that same period. And also he has to understand, I understand that you're comfortable on the ball with your feet. But you also have to remember, my friend, you also have to have players around you that understand how to play with you. And I think sometimes he comes in moments where he is on his own, where he tried to break things open. And I think now, where Man United is right now, I don't think it's the time to be overconfident. And he went on TV and he said, like, look, guys, some of the blame of the defense, you have to put it on me because I am the goalkeeper. I get that. I get that you're that confident. But before this game, what was it? They conceded, 10 goals already? And now the numbers are compared to what they conceded last year at home. It's already higher than that. So I'm saying, like, the league just kicked up. You got to be careful because you don't want to come in the corner and be the highlight of the team. And I think the way Onana is playing now, the way Ajax was playing with him, but Man United is not there yet.
Do you think Arteta would have taken him off?
There we go. There we go. Back
to your conversation a couple of days ago.
I want to move it on slightly.
I was really trying by all means to really avoid this because I knew that if I could get into it, I'm going to say some things that will get me in trouble. Manchester United fans don't really want to hear me say this. The problem with Onana is this. This guy has a problem. I'm trying by all means to look at the right ways to put what these guys were saying into words. Because one thing that we were told, he's good with his feet. But who is he? What exactly is his position? A goalkeeper. So if your position is a goalkeeper, whether you offer what going forward, it doesn't matter if you cannot short stop. The reason why 90% of the people are always after Trent Alexander-Arnold every single time, it's because the position he's playing on is a defender, is a right back. So whether he does well going forward, if he's not covering his position, the whole entire internet, the whole entire football community are after him. That's where we are now here with Onana. This good is so good. This guy is very good with his feet. In fact, I wish he should have been a midfielder rather than a goalkeeper because he's very good with his feet. But the problem with what this guy did, which people are not really talking about it, we were talking, like what he was saying, they were talking about him looking for at least a character which takes over the dressing room of the character of the dressing room. He came in and he has been shouting, making so much noise about how much Manchester United were now moving in a different direction, a good direction that is in. Now that means that everyone are watching you. Your own fan base are watching you and are excited over the motivation, the energy you're bringing to the team. The rivals are watching, getting irritated after what you're all saying to the world, and they want you to come and prove it. And the Jaguar fans who are United fans are watching you, knowing that you have taken out one of their best shortstopper that they've had in recent years, Manchester United. The only shortstopper that they've had in recent years, and you have come in saying that you can shortstop and also you can provide something with your feet. And you come into the game and you do this. You do something like what you did today. The whole entire internet will eat you up. The whole entire football frenzies, everyone that will talk about you. I'm talking about you. I didn't even want to talk about it. So that's where this guy has a character problem. Where as a new player, you need to get in smoothly. Let your talent become what speaks for you rather than to use your mouth. Alex McAllister has been doing that for Liverpool. I'm sorry, I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm always going to look at them. Dominic Szoboszlai, the reason why people are talking about him is because of what he's doing with his feet. So many people, James Maddison at Tottenham Hotspur, people are talking about him now more often because of what he's doing with his feet. James Ward-Prowse, I'm showing you all the people who are new signings who have come to different teams, that their foot has done the talking and everyone cannot stop but just keep talking about them, singing praise and saying whatever they can because they're doing so well. Now this guy did the talking, made so much noise. Now to prove it, he is not showing up. The whole world is after him. And if you notice, it's only until that point where he made the mistake that the whole game went downwards. The whole players lost the strength, they lost the belief, and that's how Manchester United died in the game. It's a crazy game, people. And it all had a beginning. Onana's mistake. I don't know. I hope I wasn't being that hard.